My name was Amir Al-Hassan. I was a judge, a voice of reason in an unforgiving world, respected, admired, and perhaps even feared within my circles. I spent years meticulously upholding a system designed to offer justice. But beneath the surface of my practiced demeanor lay an unsettling void, a gnawing disquiet that accompanied my daily prayers. I observed the world through a lens of tradition, yet I secretly questioned, was there more? One fateful day, a moment of pressure, literally and spiritually, pushed me to the edge. I collapsed in the courtroom, yet as darkness encroached, I found myself confronted with a blinding light. There, standing in all his glory, was Jesus. He called me by name, illuminating my path, revealing truths that sent shockwaves through my very being. In that sacred encounter, the layers of my lifelong obedience crumbled, exposing the manipulation woven into my faith. What followed was a spiraling descent into isolation. My community, once my sanctuary, turned against me, branding me a heretic for daring to seek the truth. I faced an internal battle, my newfound faith against the relentless expectations of my past. Yet even as fear clawed at my heart, a flicker of hope began to emerge, pulling me toward the light I had encountered. This journey has led me to an undeniable conclusion, a divine calling. I spent countless hours in secret, exploring the pages of a forbidden book, the Bible, while connecting with others who, like me, had been liberated from the chains of deception. But embracing this truth came with a cost, as I lost much of what I once knew. Yet here I stand, ready to share my testimony, the revelation that transformed my life and ignited a fire within me to help others break free. The world around us is embroiled in spiritual conflict, and I have witnessed the profound freedom found in Jesus, a freedom that transcends all oppression and fear. Before we dive deeper, I invite you to comment below. Where are you watching from, and what time is it right now where you are? Your stories matter in this shared journey. And if you love Jesus, subscribe to Truth from Beyond. What awaits you is not just a tale of transformation, but a call to awaken to a reality far richer than we've been led to believe. The truth is here, and it's time for us all to embrace it together. The air in the London Appellate Court felt electric, charged with the weight of expectation and reverence for the law. Yet beneath that polished veneer, an undercurrent of uncertainty flowed, reflecting my own internal struggle. I'm Hassan Al-Mansour, a judge respected in my field, yet tormented by a growing disconnect between my religious obedience and the quest for deeper truth. Each case I presided over brought with it the burden of decisions that rippled far beyond legal implications. I found myself at a crossroads, caught in the tension between the dogmas I had followed and an awakening that was unfolding within me. It was during one of those weighty sessions, filled with procedural arguments and legal jargon, that I suddenly felt faint. The world spun around me, and I lost consciousness, plunging into a dark void. When I regained awareness, I was transported to an extraordinary realm, a spiritual tribunal unlike anything I had ever imagined. In the distance, a figure emerged, radiating warmth and light. It was Jesus, and when he spoke my name, it reverberated through the depths of my being, awakening something profound within. This moment was not just an encounter. It felt like a pivotal revelation that was about to unfold. As Jesus stood before me, the atmosphere shifted, filled with deep love and a clarity that pierced through my doubts. "Hassan," he said, "you are part of a spiritual war." In that very moment, my understanding of reality began to unravel. He revealed to me the hidden agendas of those in power, the elite, who manipulated truth for their benefit, creating layers of deception designed to keep humanity divided and oppressed. I saw the strife in the world, wars sparked by greed, communities tearing apart at the seams, all driven by an insidious agenda that thrived on fear and ignorance. The images left me breathless, igniting in me a sense of urgency and purpose that was both exhilarating and terrifying. This was an awakening, but it didn't come without its challenges. I perceived the struggle for truth against the backdrop of manipulation and influences that governed daily life. The deeper I plunged into these revelations, the more I realized that my position as a judge was not merely to enforce legal codes, but to seek justice in its truest form, one rooted in moral clarity and compassion. Jesus underscored the necessity of sharing these revelations with others, of urging everyone to awaken to the spiritual war that raged around us. He impressed upon me the responsibility I had to lift the veil of deception that many accepted without question. As those insights began to settle within me, I felt the pull back to reality, my consciousness racing to return to the physical world. I awoke in the courtroom, the murmurs of surprise echoing around me as I took in my surroundings. Yet I was changed. I could feel the fire of passion burning inside me, fortified by the encounters I had just experienced. The journey ahead loomed large, filled with uncertainties and fears about how my newfound understandings would be received. I had a truth to share, a call to embrace, and a mission that could potentially alter the course of my life and the lives of many others. There was no turning back now. I had to navigate this spiritual war, equipped with the light of revelation, ready to confront the shadows that seek to suppress us all. As I sit in my chambers, it's hard not to feel the weight of expectations resting on my shoulders. My name is Amir Al-Hassan, a 45-year-old Muslim appellate judge in London, known for my legal expertise and integrity. I've spent my life navigating the complex world of law, balancing the scales of justice with a heavy heart. On the surface, I appear composed and honorable, but beneath that exterior lies a tumultuous emotional landscape filled with years of repression and cultural conformity. The pressure to uphold not only the law, but also the expectations of my community, has left me grappling with questions that cut deep into the core of my being. Every prayer I offer feels like a struggle, a push against a growing void that seems to expand each day. The rituals I've followed meticulously now feel like shackles, limiting my connection to something greater. I often find myself questioning the authenticity of my faith, wondering if my adherence to tradition has clouded my ability to find true spiritual fulfillment. The conflicts I see in the world around me, the wars, divisions, and manipulation by those in power, compound the restlessness within me. I cannot shake the comprehension that there is a hidden agenda at play, a deception buried beneath the surface of what we frequently accept as reality. Then came the moment that changed everything. It was during a particularly hectic day at court when suddenly I felt a profound weakness wash over me. In an instant, I collapsed, the world fading to black as consciousness slipped away. I found myself in an alternate realm, a stark contrast to the world I had known. A dark spiritual courtroom, tense and charged with energy. At the center stood Jesus, a figure of both authority and infinite love. His radiant presence filled the void I had been feeling with overwhelming warmth, and in that moment, the weight of my past began to lift. As I approached him, a revelation struck me with the force of a tidal wave. Jesus spoke of the spiritual war that permeates every facet of life, revealing truths that had long been hidden from me. I saw the manipulation of the elite, their agendas designed to keep humanity in a state of division and conflict. I witnessed scenes of war and suffering ignited not merely by political strife, but by the insidious exploitation of power dynamics. The understanding that my role as a judge extended beyond the courtroom flooded my mind. I was called not just to impose legal judgments, but also to seek justice and truth in a world tangled in deception. In that ethereal tribunal, I felt the urgency of my mission crystallizing. I needed to awaken others to these truths. I understood the importance of advocacy beyond the judgments I delivered, the need to fight against the deception that twisted our understanding of justice. Each revelation propelled me forward, igniting in me a fierce desire to return to my realm and speak out against the breath of ignorance that surrounded us. I recognized that this war transcended personal belief. It was about saving souls from the clutches of fear and misinformation. Yet, despite the fire within, I felt the fear of returning to a world that might not understand or accept my transformed perspective. As I emerged from my near-death experience back into the reality of the courtroom, the recognition of my purpose pulsed through me. I was still Amir al-Hassan, a judge respected by my peers, but I was forever changed. The push and pull of expectation from my family, my community, and my own spiritual awakening weighed heavily on my heart. I knew that speaking out might risk everything: my reputation, my relationships, my sense of belonging, but the call to truth was louder than any fear. I felt an unwavering determination to navigate this new path, to engage others in a dialogue about the secrets lurking in the shadows. The spiritual war one now understood was not just a concept. It was the call of my life, urging me to step forth bravely in the face of uncertainty. In the stillness of my evening prayers, a growing unrest began to bubble beneath the surface of my faith. My name is Amir, and as a 45-year-old Muslim appellate judge in London, I had long taken pride in my commitment to the law and to my beliefs. Yet as I knelt, seeking connection with the divine, I couldn't shake the sense that something was profoundly missing. Each prayer felt increasingly mechanical, and I found myself grappling with an unsettling disconnection from the God I thought I knew. The dissonance between my everyday life and the spiritual ideals I aspired to weighed heavily on my heart. With each passing day, I felt the pull of doubt growing stronger, whispering questions that unsettled my sense of identity. Was my faith merely a collection of inherited doctrines? Were the principles I followed truly aligned with the teachings of Jesus and the divine messages conveyed through those who came before me? I tried to silence those concerns, fearing that to entertain such thoughts would lead me down a dangerous path. The idea of questioning my beliefs filled me with dread, conjuring images of ostracization, judgment, and confusion. I felt trapped within the confines of tradition, shackled by the weight of expectations from my family and community. It was during one of those restless nights, overwhelmed by my inner turmoil, that everything changed. I fell into a deep sleep and found myself in a state of near death, an out-of-body experience that catapulted me into the spiritual realm. In that space, devoid of time and earthbound pressures, I encountered Jesus, a figure radiating love and understanding. His presence enveloped me, stirring something profound within. He spoke directly to my soul, challenging my understanding of faith, religion, and the nature of the world around me. "Amir," he said, "you are in a spiritual war, and the truth is often hidden from view." With each revelation, I sensed shackles breaking away. Jesus illuminated the hidden agendas of the elite, how they distort truth to ensnare society in a web of deception. I saw glimpses of suffering, of lives caught in a cycle of despair, manipulated by powerful forces that thrived on division and conflict. As he unveiled these truths, I felt a growing urgency to share this knowledge, knowing that countless others remained trapped in ignorance. The clarity of the revelation was empowering yet daunting. I knew I was being called to a higher purpose, one that demanded not only belief but also action. The intensity of this experience left me breathless as I awakened back in my bed, disoriented but transformed. Life resumed its normal pace, yet I could no longer return to the same routine without confronting the discrepancies in my beliefs. Armed with the insights imparted by Jesus, I began to explore the depths of my faith and sought a way to reconcile this awakening with the life I had lived. I experienced an emotional tug-of-war, my newfound convictions prompting an urge to speak out against the societal deceptions I had unveiled. I felt that to remain silent would be to dishonor the revelations I had received. The shadows of doubt remained, but a sense of purpose illuminated the path forward. I had a mission: to awaken others to the truth of the spiritual war we were all embroiled in, even if the cost of that mission remained uncertain. The day began with the familiar hum of the courtroom, filled with the cadence of voices and the rustling of papers. I'm Amir al-Hassan, a federal appellate judge, respected for my legal acumen. Yet, despite this facade of authority, inside I felt an overwhelming pressure, a storm building within my body. My blood pressure had been rising, a silent battle I didn't fully acknowledge as I immersed myself in the details of a complicated case. With each passing moment, the tension grew until suddenly the room around me began to fade. I remember collapsing, the faces of my colleagues blurring in and out of focus as I slipped into darkness. That darkness transformed into an ethereal realm, where gravity had no hold, and I felt as if I were floating. In that moment, I experienced a profound stillness, and it was within this space that I encountered Jesus. He appeared to me not as a distant figure from Scripture, but as a living, breathing presence, radiating warmth and infinite love. "Amir," he said, and his voice resonated deeply within me, awakening parts of my soul that had long been dormant. As Jesus spoke, the seriousness of his message struck me like lightning. He illuminated the hidden agendas that govern our lives, powerful forces manipulating truth for the sake of control and division. It was as if layers of deception were stripped away, revealing the raw truth about our society, our struggles, and the spiritual war raging around us. I could see how the elite orchestrated narratives that kept us fighting rather than uniting, how wars were not just fought on foreign soil but also within the hearts of people, sustaining a cycle of hatred and misunderstanding. I was shown the manipulation of faith, how traditions that once provided comfort had been twisted to serve ulterior motives. These revelations felt like a tidal wave crashing over me, and it dawned on me that many who followed these old ways were, in fact, caught in a web of deception, unaware of the power of love and unity that Jesus embodied. In that moment, I understood that my life was meant for more than just judgment in a courtroom. It was a call to be a voice in the spiritual awakening happening across the globe. As I floated in that divine light, I felt both an overwhelming sense of purpose and a flicker of fear regarding the world I was about to return to. I knew that embracing this truth would not come without consequences, but the urgency to share what I had learned burned brightly in my heart. I felt Jesus urging me to awaken others to the realities around them, to break free from the chains of deception and empower them with the truth. I was ready to face the challenges that lay ahead, and as I was pulled back to the surface, the commitment to live out this calling flooded through me, promising that my journey into the light was just beginning. As I returned to reality after that life-altering experience, the brightness faded, and the sterile lights of the hospital room assaulted my senses. I was alive, yet I felt a profound dissonance enveloping me. My name is Amir al-Hassan, a federal appellate judge, yet the title felt hollow in the face of the revelations I had encountered. The moment I stepped back into the world, everything changed. Initially, the love and warmth I had felt in the presence of Jesus seemed to dissolve against a backdrop of disapproval. I was thrust into a harsh reality where my awakening was met with skepticism and rejection. My family, once a source of support, now saw me as a heretic. I had dared to question the doctrines that had shaped our lives, and for that I faced their rejection. The conversations grew tense, fraught with emotional landmines. Each inquiry was met with resignation, disbelief echoing in their voices as they struggled to understand what had transpired during my near-death experience. They held tightly to the invisible chains of tradition, and in my desire to seek truth, I had unknowingly severed the ties that anchored me to my past. The challenge of being immersed in the spiritual war felt insurmountable, magnified by the silence surrounding me. As I grappled with the isolation, I often found myself praying alone, seeking guidance and understanding from Jesus regarding my path. It was evident that leaving my old life behind carried consequences I had underestimated. The longing for familial connection clashed with my fierce commitment to the revelations bestowed upon me. The spiritual journey that once filled me with excitement now introduced a profound loneliness, as friends and family rejected the very essence of my faith. Each day, I felt like a stranger in my own life, yearning for acceptance while struggling to find my place within the vibrant community that had begun to form around my testimony. In those lonely moments, I reflected on the truths I had witnessed, the hidden agenda of the elite, the manipulation that kept societies bound in ignorance and division. My awakening had shown me the bigger picture, and it felt irresponsible not to share these insights. I often recounted how the spiritual war manifests in our daily lives, how each choice we make can either contribute to the light or the dark. I knew I could not remain silent while the deception continued to plague our world. Each narrative I shared in discussions with others who had also faced similar challenges became a lifeline for me. We bonded over our experiences, creating a tapestry of hope in the midst of adversity. Yet, as I stepped into these discussions, fear continued to gnaw at me. What if my family never understood? What if I lost them forever? Would my pursuit of truth ultimately demand a higher price than I was willing to pay? Even as I ventured deeper into advocacy for awakening, the shadows of doubt were unrelenting. But in moments of vulnerability, I could hear Jesus urging me to remain steadfast. The urgency to spread the truth outweighed the fear of derision. I began to recognize that awakening was not just about me. It was about creating a ripple effect, inspiring others to break free from the chains of deception. As I embraced this newfound sense of purpose, I stood on the precipice of transformation, ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. Undeterred by the rejection I faced from my family and community, I embarked on a clandestine quest for truth that would reshape the very foundation of my existence. My name is Amir Al-Hassan, and I was once entrenched in the traditions and expectations of my life as a Muslim appellate judge in London. After my transformative encounter with Jesus, I felt an insatiable need to explore the depths of faith that had long been shrouded in rigid rules and expectations. I began secretly studying the Bible, poring over its pages long into the night, feeling the words ignite something within me that had previously been dormant. Finding a supportive network of ex-Muslims and fellow seekers further solidified my resolve. We gathered in quiet spaces, our conversations often rich with both trepidation and fervor. Each person shared their unique journey, and I realized the immense power of our collective stories, tales of awakening from the slumber of socio-political deception imposed by the elite. We discussed the hidden agendas that manipulated our beliefs, feeding us narratives designed to stifle our spiritual growth. In those moments, I felt less alone, as if we were united in a spiritual war against the forces of darkness that sought to dominate our lives. As I progressed deeper into my studies and discussions, I found solace in the revelations that unfolded. Each lesson brought forth an understanding of Jesus, teachings that resonated with the turmoil I had once lived through. I lit candles to signify my prayers, their flickering flames reflecting my yearning for truth and freedom. The more I uncovered, the clearer it became. The spiritual awakening was not just an act of personal growth, but a collective call to challenge the status quo. While the tension between my faith and the beliefs I had held for so long simmered beneath the surface, the joy of this discovery felt like liberation. One night after sharing my testimony with my network, I felt the unmistakable urge to take a step towards my commitment. I began reflecting on the significance of baptism, a powerful symbol of renewal and an outward manifestation of the inner transformation I had experienced. My heart raced at the thought of a secret baptism, an act that would symbolize my commitment to Jesus and my awakening. It felt both exhilarating and terrifying. I knew that such actions could sever ties with the life I had known, but I also realized that living in truth was far more important than conforming to the expectations that had once defined me. The day arrived for my baptism, and I was filled with anticipation and fear. The small gathering of supportive friends around me infused the occasion with warmth and understanding. As I stood in the cool water, I could feel the weight of my past slipping away, replaced by an overwhelming sense of purpose. I submerged beneath the surface, the water embracing me like a rebirth. And as I emerged, I felt cleansed, not just physically, but spiritually. With each second, I could feel the empowering presence of Jesus, urging me to embrace my purpose of sharing this truth, to speak out against the deception that continually ensnared so many. Standing there, reshaped and renewed, I knew that my journey in this spiritual war was just beginning, that my commitment to truth would carry me through the challenges that awaited. The moment I collapsed during that hearing marked the beginning of a profound transformation in my life. As a federal appellate judge, my existence was defined by rules and regulations, yet I had felt a low rumbling of discontent for years, a tension that built quietly in the background. Suddenly, I found myself in a void, enveloped in darkness, a stillness that was both unsettling and strangely calming. When consciousness returned, I was transported to a divine realm where I encountered Jesus, an experience that changed everything. In this ethereal space, I felt the overwhelming presence of love and warmth. As I stood before him, a realization washed over me. My prior doubts and insecurities melted away, replaced by an urgent sense of purpose. Jesus looked at me with kindness, his gaze piercing through the facades I had carefully constructed to shield myself from the truth. "Amir," he said, "you're here because you have a calling. You're part of a spiritual war, and it's time to awaken." Those words ignited something deep within me, sparking an intense desire to understand not just my own spirituality, but the greater truths that resonate in our world. In the visions that unfolded, I was shown the hidden agendas of the elite, how they manipulate beliefs and events to exploit fear in the hearts of people. I saw how politics, religion, and society often dance to the tune of a few powerful figures who thrive on division and misunderstanding. This revelation shook me to the core. It was as if layers of perception were peeled away, exposing the deception that pervades our existence. I was reminded of the wars and conflicts that seemed unnecessary, driven not by principle, but rather by ambition and greed. In that moment, I understood that ignorance was a weapon wielded by those who sought to maintain control. As I walked alongside Jesus through these vivid revelations, I felt a growing conviction to share what I had witnessed. The spiritual awakening I experienced was not merely a gift for myself. It was a message that needed to be carried out into the world. I began to see my life through a new lens. The law wasn't just about upholding regulations, but about fighting for truth and justice in the face of moral corruption. I realized that I could be a voice for those who felt trapped by societal norms, a beacon of hope urging others to break free from the chains of deception. When I returned to consciousness in the hospital room, the weight of that experience clung to me like a second skin. The challenges I faced afterward were daunting, particularly in reconciling my newfound beliefs with the expectations placed upon me. I felt the scrutiny of my colleagues and family as I began telling my story, warning them about the spiritual war that raged around us. Would sharing this truth bring liberation, or would it alienate me from those I loved? Despite my fears, the conviction inside me grew stronger. I was determined to find others willing to listen, to stand with me in this awakening, and together confront the darkness that threatened to consume us all. Mustering my courage was a daily battle as I stood on the precipice of a new life. My name is Amir Al-Hassan, and as a Muslim appellate judge, I had created a reputation built on integrity and respect. Yet, that same respect held me captive. After my transformative encounter with Jesus, I realized the walls surrounding my life were closing in, suffocating the very essence of who I was meant to be. I had spent too long conforming to the expectations of those around me, and now, the call to embrace my faith openly burned fiercely within me. It was time to abandon my former life and relocate to a new city, where I could pursue my mission of evangelism without fear or restraint. The decision was not made lightly. I had to consider the ramifications of leaving behind the life I had built, the colleagues I respected, the family I loved, and the community that had formed the backbone of my identity. Yet I could feel an internal awakening that pushed me forward, demanding honesty and vulnerability. The more I reflected on the revelations imparted to me, the clearer it became that my life needed to embody the truths I had uncovered. I understood now that I was part of a spiritual war, and I could no longer stand idly by while the hidden agendas of the elite perpetuated deception in our society. Relocating to a new city offered both freedom and anxiety. In those early days, I felt like a wanderer, seeking a place where my voice could resonate without the fear of rejection. I immersed myself in the community, attending gatherings where fellow believers shared their journeys. Each conversation ignited a fire of purpose within me, reminding me that my mission was greater than myself. I began to share my testimony publicly, recounting my experience with Jesus and what it meant to awaken to the deeper truths of our existence. I urged those who listened to recognize the manipulation that kept us captive, the lies of the elite keeping us divided and fearful. I discovered that many people were seeking answers, caught in their struggles, unaware of the powerful deceptions that governed their lives. As I connected with others, I found solace in our shared stories, tales of pain, awakening, and the quest for truth. The urgency to spread this message became even more profound as each individual spoke of their own battles, born from the very societal structures I had once adhered to without question. Together we explored the complexities of our beliefs and the implications of living in a world riddled with hidden agendas. I felt a sense of unity and purpose, and slowly, the fear that had once bound me began to dissipate. Yet, the tension between my past life and my present mission continued to surface. The memories of family and friends I left behind haunted me, creating a swirl of emotions that were hard to navigate. Would they ever understand the transformative nature of my experience? Would they see me as someone who had chosen a different path, or as a traitor to my heritage? Those questions lingered in my mind as I forged ahead, determined to advocate for the truth that had been revealed to me. I knew that this journey was not just personal. It was a collective awakening, one that required courage and vulnerability, even in the face of potential loss. With every opportunity to share my journey, I felt the weight of my responsibility intensify. There was a silent call within me, echoing Jesus' words about the spiritual war we were all part of. His voice reverberated in my soul, urging me to stand firm against the encroaching shadows of deception that sought to silence the truth. My role was now clear. I was to be a beacon of light, illuminating the path for others trapped in darkness. As I embraced this mission, I remained acutely aware of the risks, but the drive for liberation and awakening fueled my resolve. I could feel the tide of change gathering around me, urging action and transformation as I stepped into the fray, ready to face whatever lay ahead. Years later, I find myself in a position I never anticipated, leading a small congregation in a community that embraces spiritual awakening. My name is Amir Al-Hassan, and while my experience as a federal appellate judge once defined my identity, it's my journey as a spiritual guide that now fills my heart with purpose. The familiar weight of my former life still lingers, an ache for the acceptance and understanding of my family that I had left behind. Yet I am driven daily by the sheer urgency of the truths I have uncovered, and the need to help others find their own paths to freedom. The transformation within me began with that life-altering encounter with Jesus during my near-death experience. In that holy moment, I was shown the depths of deception permeating our world, how the elite engineered the narratives that kept people in servitude to fear and ignorance. Each revelation ignited a flame within me, pushing me to challenge the status quo and advocate for the truth. As I dove deeper into my new mission, I often found myself recalling those profound moments, Jesus standing before me, urging me to awaken and share the light I had been given. Now, as I guide others along their spiritual journeys, I engage in conversations that echo with authenticity and vulnerability. Each gathering becomes a sacred space to explore the complexities of belief, challenging the hidden agendas that continue to manipulate the masses. My heart swells when I see people in the congregation who, like I once was, feel imprisoned by societal expectations. Together, we unpack the layers of deception, revealing the truth that Jesus embodied: love, acceptance, and liberation. The energy in those gatherings is electric. The air buzzes with the potential for transformation. Despite the fulfillment I find in helping others, I still carry the burden of longing for family acceptance and reconciliation. Shadows of doubt often creep in, reminding me that my decision to follow this new path came at a cost. I have been accused of betrayal, my relationships strained as I chose to embrace the uncomfortable truths that many would prefer to ignore. When I talk to my family, I feel the gulf between us widen, an unspoken chasm that is painful to navigate. They hold on to traditions that feel suffocating to me, while I attempt to shed light on the spiritual war we are all entrenched in. Each day I am reminded of this struggle, yet I know that I cannot turn back. The commitment to this journey is more than a personal endeavor. It's a calling that resonates deeply within me. I often find solace in the fact that many have successfully broken free from their own chains, facing the complexities of their spiritual battles head-on, even when the road was steep. The urgency to awaken others continues to propel me forward, even as I quietly dangle on the hopes of one day reconciling with my family. In this ongoing narrative, I seek to embody both the truth I found and the compassionate understanding that comes from a life devoted to Jesus, sustaining me as I navigate this complex and transformative spiritual landscape. As I stand at the intersection of my past and present, I'm filled with a sense of urgency and purpose that I can no longer ignore. My name is Amir Al-Hassan, and as a federal appellate judge, my world had always revolved around the law, yet an invisible war was waging within me, one that tore at the very fabric of my identity. The moment I collapsed in the courtroom marked the beginning of a journey that took me into the depths of my soul. That near-death experience became a revelation, one that opened my eyes to the deceptions that pervade our lives and the spiritual war we're all entrenched in. In that moment of darkness, I encountered Jesus. His luminous presence enveloped me, offering a sense of peace I had rarely felt on earth. "Amir," he called, penetrating the core of my being. "You have a calling to awaken others." The weight of his words resonated deeply, revealing hidden agendas shaped by elite powers that manipulated societal truths for their gain. I saw how the constructs of religion and politics often served to divide us rather than unite us, feeding the darkness that kept people shackled in ignorance and fear. In that spiritual tribunal, I grasped the enormity of the truth. I was meant to be a voice in this war, a harbinger of the awakening that was essential for true liberation. Upon awakening, the fear of my family's rejection loomed large. They'd always expected me to adhere to a strict set of beliefs, one that I had unconsciously accepted out of duty. As I began to embrace my faith in Jesus, I discovered a profound sense of isolation. I watched as my loved ones struggled to comprehend my transformation, branding me a heretic for daring to step outside the lines drawn by tradition. Their fear was palpable, stemming from a desire to protect me, yet it only deepened my resolve to share the truth I had come to understand. In those early days of my awakening, I found solace in connecting with others who had also faced their own spiritual conflicts. We exchanged stories of struggle and despair, battling the same hidden agendas that sought to divide and control us. In each conversation, I felt the power of collective awakening. Together, we began to unravel the layers of deception that had long held us captive. It struck me just how crucial it was to share the revelation that faith in Jesus transcends dogma and brings liberation. It is this truth that can empower us to stand against the elite's manipulation. As I began to share my story with others, the impact of that spiritual war became clearer. I watched as individuals slowly began to awaken, realizing the extent of the deception they had been living under. Each breakthrough felt like a small victory, a flicker of light penetrating the darkness. I knew the challenges ahead would not be easy. Societal expectations and cultural norms were deeply rooted, but the urgency in my heart urged me to press on, to embody the change I wished to see. I felt Jesus guiding me, calling me to lead others towards the liberating truth I had discovered. With every step forward, I knew I was part of something much larger than myself, an awakening that had the potential to shatter the chains of division and deception that bound humanity. As I stand before you now, I'm filled with both hope and urgency. My name is Amir Al-Hassan, and my journey has led me to a realization that transcends mere personal transformation. It is a clarion call for each of you. Have you ever felt that gnawing sense within, a whisper urging you to question the narrative you've been sold? Because I believe we are all threads in a tapestry woven by a higher purpose, and yes, we are in a spiritual war that demands our awakening. The path I've walked is a testament to the reality of what lies beyond our immediate understanding. In that moment of darkness when I encountered Jesus, my blindfold was ripped away. I witnessed the manipulation that governs our lives, the elite forces that thrive on division, fear, and ignorance. I know now that many of you feel this tension as well, struggling to reconcile your beliefs with the world around you. What does it mean to awaken? I urge you to reflect on this and share your thoughts in the comments below. Your experiences matter, and together, we can foster a community that seeks truth in the chaos. If this message resonates with you, don't just listen, act. Subscribe to Truth from Beyond and activate the notification bell so you won't miss what's coming next. Together we will unearth more revelations, tales of awakening that could light the path for others still caught in darkness. Your involvement is crucial. Each voice contributes to the growing chorus of truth against the lies that keep us bound. Before we end, I encourage you to delve deeper into this journey. In our next video, we will explore another powerful testimony, revealing yet another facet of the spiritual awakening that is sweeping across our world. The time is now for you, for me, and for all of us to embrace this divine calling. Thank you for sharing this moment with me. I'm Amir Al-Hassan, and remember, the truth not only finds us, but it also empowers us to break free and reclaim our narratives, illuminating the path toward a brighter, united future.